Hey, I'm Vin, and this is Give It Space. For the next few minutes, we're going to sit with one feeling, idea, social norm, identity, or just whatever might be weighing on us in this moment. Together, we'll explore where it comes from, why it lingers, and give it room to breathe without trying to fix anything. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's give it some space. Today's episode is about the empathy deficiency that's currently taking place in the United States specifically. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why I chose this as today's topic and this week's topic. We're going to be talking about why it seems like nobody is capable of expressing empathy to one another. And like I said, it's specifically in the United States, it seems. There's a lot to unpack. But I've specifically been asking myself why it seems like we're not able to see things from each other's perspectives. Or like when I was a kid, people would say, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Well, I've been asking myself that a lot. Like, why are we incapable as humans, seemingly right now, of just being able to simply take a second and stop and pause and ask questions about ourselves and about other people, and instead of just jumping to conclusions and making assumptions and harming people online verbally or physically, like, why are we not able to just recognize that we are all human beings? We are all the same species. We all live on the same planet, and it is a giant floating ball in a galaxy that is surrounded by infinity number of other galaxies. We are so small. We are so insignificant. And yet we have these complexes that let us believe that we're like the sun, that everybody just revolves around us, that everybody understands what we're thinking, and if they don't understand what we're thinking at every moment of every day, and they're not serving us in one way or another, then they're just nothing. Like, what the fuck? What is wrong with us? Can we not see that there are people out there that genuinely really have it so much harder, and we're not able to comprehend that? So I think the origins of this problem of the empathy deficit, if you want to call it that, is that we're not all on the same page about what empathy actually means. Because it's it's not something that's easy to grasp. Empathy is not just one thing or another. It can be fluid. It can have a lot of meanings, and I'm going to share some of them. So this is where I'm going to get technical, and I am going to read, but dictionary.com says that empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy isn't a thing that we can point to or describe or characterize objectively, but most people view empathy as having something to do with understanding what other people are feeling or what other people are going through and being concerned about them. But there's a article that I want to share with you guys from Psychology Today. The author is someone named Sherry Pagodo. She mentions that there are 3 different types of empathy. The first is cognitive empathy, which refers to the ability to understand another person's perspective, including their reactions, their thoughts, and their feelings. Someone with cognitive empathy is able to say, I can definitely see why you reacted this way. Cognitive empathy is an essential skill for conflict resolution, and exercising it during conflict strengthens relational bonds. The second type of empathy is emotional empathy. Emotional empathy is the ability to feel an emotion that another person is feeling. For example, you may tear up when a friend shares that their dog just died. Emotional empathy strengthens relationships via the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone which calms the nervous system and makes us feel a connection to the other person. And the third type is compassionate empathy. Compassionate empathy is when a person's emotional empathy moves them into action. An example would be a person who felt sad that their friend lost a home to a fire and gave them a place to stay, rented out a house for them, or let them share their room. This author also mentions how stress is the biggest factor that suppresses our capacity to express empathy, which also goes back to my episode on fear. Yeah, everything is connected. Stress activates the fight or flight mode. This response forces our attention inward to process the stressor, which impairs our ability to express empathy. Stress also activates the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, which suppresses activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that regulates emotions and empathy. For example, if a friend confides in you when you're under stress, you'll have a harder time processing their experience, which reduces your capacity to express empathy. Stress can change our perceptions of other people's behavior in a way that makes them seem more threatening. For example, if you're late for work and your roommate calls you saying that their car broke down, you're less likely to care about their problems because you interpret the roommate's behavior as impeding on your own time. It's a threat to your time. It's a threat to your routine. Under calm conditions, you likely would have responded differently, saying, I'm sorry that happened, I can pick you up. But if you're running late for work and your friend is calling you, you're going to see that as just another problem to add to your list of problems. That's not your fault. You can't handle that. You're too focused on getting to work on time. That's their problem. You don't care. That's just how your brain works. It shuts down what's not important and relevant to you in that moment, and it keeps running off of that stress, which then, again, kind of grabs at your empathy or your ability to express empathy and shoves it down. Isn't that just great? We love that. We love being selfish assholes. Ugh. Here are some reasons and examples as to why I believe that we are lacking empathy as a country. And this is a long laundry list, so bear with me, but I have a feeling a lot of you will be able to relate to some of these stories and some of these examples. Maybe you'll get fired up. Maybe you won't. Who knows? But join me. Buckle in, Buttercup. Anyways, individualism. That's the first one. Self-interest over community. Like I was already kind of talking about, we are so focused on our own lives that we can't even stop to think about others for a second. It reminds me of President George Bush when, was it Hurricane Katrina? Yeah, it was Hurricane Katrina, and President George Bush had such a late response to the victims. Typically, a president, when there's any sort of natural disaster, shows up to the spot to respond, to give condolences, to say a prayer, to help with medical efforts or food distribution. And he was criticized a lot for his disappearance. And I don't know where he went. I would have to dig harder into that. But I'm pretty sure he was either on vacation or in transit or something. But it took him over a week to respond to Hurricane Katrina and its victims. I mean, there are so many other examples in that, like Donald Trump as well did the same thing in, Puerto Rico, where he just showed no empathy, no care for the victims that just lost their homes and their livelihoods and were on the streets begging for food. And he just shows up on a first-class jet, gets off in a tux, waves a little bit to the press, and then hops back on. And we don't even really care. We just don't care. It doesn't affect us. That's not our problem. The hurricane didn't come up north. We're fine. So that's my example. But second one is burnout. Ta-da! Everybody feels this one, guys. Everybody feels this one. High prices, competition, busy days, low wages, no sleep, max hours, keep us focused on personal survival. And we are so, again, everything connects to each other, but we turn inwards when we're burnt out, when we're tired, when we just want to isolate, when we want to do self-care. You don't see people doing self-care in large groups unless you're a little kid and you're going to a sleepover or whatever. But we as human beings tend to believe that the only way to get through our problems is to isolate, to turn inwards, to say, well, this is our problem. We're going to have to dig ourselves out of it. We have to figure this out on our own. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to help us. And sometimes that's valid. And that's a good response to have when, you're trying to not rely on others so much, not be a people pleaser, whatever. But if you're trying to build a community, go listen to that episode if you want to. If you're trying to survive, I think there is this intense desire and even habitual response that tells us that we're better off just doing it alone. We're facing it alone. Nobody understands what we're going through. We're tired, therefore nobody else can be tired. Like, I was even feeling this the other day at work. Like, I have a hard work ethic. I drive myself to the point of exhaustion all the time, as I'm sure a lot of people do. And it gets to the point where I'm like, I need more hours. I need more money. I'm just going to tell my boss I want as many hours as I can get, even if that means that I have to do the worst, most horrible jobs. And I'll do the worst, most horrible jobs that are super gross, that make me smell bad, and I'll do them, and I try not to complain. And then the next day I'll show up and I'll be like, oh, well, my schedule is the busiest, like on the spreadsheet, I have the most things to do, and I have this whole laundry list of things to do, and nobody else has that, or I have to do this task 3 times this week, and only 2 other people have to do it even once. And I complain and I complain, and then I stop and I realize only when I'm in front of the other people that they're doing just as much work as I am. That maybe their laundry list doesn't look the same as mine, but that doesn't negate their efforts. Just because I am so focused on my tasks and what I'm doing and how I'm benefiting the team and how I'm going out of my way and spending extra time on things that I shouldn't have to spend time on, that doesn't mean that other people aren't doing the same and I'm just not seeing it. But I become so self-absorbed that in my brain, I'm better. I work harder. I deserve more money. Roundabout way of saying that burnout destroys us. So I think we need to take a break every now and then. Which goes on to my third point, which is iPhones. And I hate to say it, but they've caused us to lose touch with our humanity and with one another. Not allowing for deep interactions and conversations, cringe culture, the uptick in bullying that's happening online right now, which is so pathetic and lame. Let's stop that. Actually, thank you. At-home learning, online dating. What else? Yeah, all of it helps preserve the isolation that we've already set in place. We've gotten used to it. We've gotten used to being isolated, and the phones are just further propelling that narrative that we're okay to be alone. But if you listen to my episode about community, you would find out that we as human beings actually need socialization to survive, and we get hunger cravings for social scenarios just like we do with actual food. Like we literally, and again, go listen to the episode because it's important. I swear it ties into all of this, but studies showed that when you put people in a room for 10 hours, 2 groups, one group without socialization and the other without food for 10 hours, both groups started showing the exact same craving. One for socialization, one for food. Yeah, so burnout and isolation and phones, like let's just not. Let's get out of our heads a little bit and actually step into the real world for a second. Number 4 is political polarization. We try to make opposing parties seem villainous to aid in our inability to view them as human beings deserving of understanding and empathy. We have a prime example as the president of our United States right now. He acts like a bully on Twitch. Not on Twitch. He's not on Twitch. I hope he's not on Twitch. Is he on Twitch? No. Well, he's on X, he's on Twitter, whatever, and he goes on there and he types his big baby paragraphs in his big uppercase letters because he's angry, and he bullies people and he calls them names. Like, what are you, a 4th grader learning how to swear for the first time? Why are you rhyming everything? Why is everything alliteration? What are we doing here? Did you ever like, he's so stupid. I feel him making me stupid just by thinking about him. He just acts so inappropriate for a man who's supposed to be in the highest seat and given the highest honor of our country, and it's embarrassing. And it's polarizing us. He's doing it intentionally because he knows that his followers are stupid. He said it before that he likes the stupid people because they just follow every whim of his. And it's true, and we're seeing it happen. And unfortunately, all parties are not inept. Wait, no, that's not the word I'm looking for. I was going to say untouched. Nobody is untouched by Donald Trump. That is awful. Well, anyways, okay, moving on. None of us are safe, basically, is what I was trying to say. No political party, no group, no matter what you believe, you are not safe from what's happening in the United States right now. Everything is a ploy to pin us against one another and to let us fight our own problems out while the rich and greedy sit back and watch with their popcorn and their Teslas and their whatever else they have, their sex trafficking rings and wild and fucking satanic cultish rituals. I don't even know. Number 5, constant exposure to violent and graphic images and fast-paced news cycles online makes us desensitized to the struggles of others. And my best example for this is, and I haven't gotten as many recently, but in the prime time of the genocide happening in Gaza, I would get like 4 or 5 videos a day of a man, a family, a child crying on TikTok in a video saying, don't scroll, don't scroll, don't scroll. Like, please help my family. If you stay, you're helping us get food or whatever. And, the first 1 or 2 times I saw that, I can't even remember what it felt like. I just knew that I felt really bad. What do? There's a helpless human being on my phone, and I can't do anything but like it and scroll away because I don't have the money to support them. Sure, I could click the repost button, but what is that really doing? So it's just like, and every time I see one of those videos, you just become so desensitized to it. It's like, unless somebody is actively being killed on your phone, you just scroll right past it. Anytime, and what I've learned is that it's making me desensitized to people's emotions specifically. Not just the violence, not just the fast pace, but their emotions. Because now, when I see a child crying on my TikTok screen, I immediately think that it's a child from Gaza, and my brain is just like, there's nothing I can do, keep scrolling. Why is my initial response now to somebody showing and expressing vulnerable emotions online to just say, oh, not my problem, scroll? Again, guys, it's the phones, it's the polarization, it's the individualism, it's the burnout. All of these are adding up to our inability to just sit there and look at somebody who is upset and in need of help and a response, and we can't give them that. We can't give them that response because we're too conditioned to believe that we're of no help and that nothing we do matters and that nothing we do is going to change. So we might as well just keep going on with our days. And the next one is a lack of perspective. People don't want to admit that others have it harder for fear of being considered privileged. And I've been guilty of this before. I've learned a lot, but people often assume that privilege means that their life has been easy. That when people say, oh, you're privileged, they're saying it as like a demotion of, well, you didn't work hard. You don't deserve the things that you have. But that's not it at all. It's just saying that your life hasn't been made harder by specific systemic factors. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, but as soon as they hear white privilege, it's automatically, well, I went to school. I got straight A's. I did this. I still did this. Like, I went to college and I didn't get that 50 grand or whatever just because of the color of my skin. Yeah, because you didn't need it. You grew up in a system that supported you from the get-go, and you never had to worry about the color of your skin impacting your potential in life and your opportunities. That's it. It's not saying that you didn't work hard. It's not saying that you don't deserve to go to college and have a future. It's just saying that you got to where you are without having to worry about certain factors holding you back. And those people that did have to worry about those certain factors are just that much more deserving of the same opportunities that you were given. That's all it is. And that has really changed how we are able to approach new situations and new scenarios and empathize with people, because immediately off the bat, you see somebody who got a full ride scholarship for volleyball and you didn't, and you think, well, they must be the bad guy. They cheated somehow. They didn't deserve that. They didn't earn that. Why didn't I get that? Because maybe their life is actually harder than yours. Wow. Next one is a lack of care. Issues are seen as excuses and met with indifference. This often stems from people who were emotionally neglected as children or never experienced empathy, which leads to misunderstandings. If you told your emotionally detached boss that your cat died and you needed the day off, they might not understand why that would be a valid reason to miss work. Like, oh my God. Story time. So, in college, I took my friend to the ER at 4 a.m. because she was having severe pain, and called an ambulance, went to the hospital. We were there for like 8 hours, I think. We both had school the next day. I'm pretty sure it was like Monday to Tuesday or Sunday to Monday, but either way, we had school the next day. As soon as time came for, it's getting to 2 hours before classes or whatever, I emailed my professor and I said, hey, like I had to take my roommate to the hospital. We're still here. I unfortunately am not going to be able to make it to class. Please let me know how I can make up whatever I'm missing. If I need to ask a classmate or whatever, I checked the syllabus and this is what I know I'm missing, but please let me know if there's anything else. And he was totally chill with it. He was like, I'm like so sorry to hear that. Hope your friend gets better. You're not missing anything or whatever. Here's what you're missing. And then, my friend is kind of in and out and she's really worried about school. She's like, well, I don't want to miss. Like, I'm just going to go. I have to go. I have to be there. I'm just going to leave the hospital. I can still make it. And I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out. You were throwing up like not even an hour ago. Sit down. You're in and out of consciousness. Like, let's just make sure you're okay first and then worry about class later. So I helped her, email her professor saying, look, I'm in the hospital. I've been here since 4 a.m. I can't make it to class. I'll be there next week, but can I please have like an extension or thank you for understanding or whatever? I don't remember what her professor responded via email with, but I remember the next week when she did show up to that class that she had missed, the professor guilt tripped her and basically implied that her being in the hospital wasn't a good enough excuse to miss class. And that she could have gone to class. She could have been there had she really tried. Had she really tried what? To get out of the fucking hospital gown that she was in and get on the fucking L in Chicago for an hour ride on the Blue Line into the city to go to school, to go to class? Like it's really that big of a deal? She's in the fucking hospital. Oh my God, it irked me so bad. I was about ready to throw hands with this fucking professor. Like, what do you mean that being in the hospital? Like, we literally took a picture of my friend in the hospital with her wristband, with the IV drip. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's like the joke where, like, do I have to have the fucking, like, receipts? Do I have to have the obituary for my grandmother to get an excuse and a pass to go to her funeral? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Next one is not listening properly. I think discrepancies in what's being said and what's being heard, or like active and passive listening. I don't know. I feel like people just don't hear what you're saying oftentimes. It's like, I have 2 examples. So the first example is sometimes like what my therapist told me that like, if I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody who's in fix-it mode, I'm never going to get through to them. So in order to have a conversation and say, hey, I have to approach it in a certain way. So I approach a conversation and I say, hey, I feel this way about this. I'm not looking for a fix. I'm not looking for a way to resolve it. I just need you to listen and I need you to sit with me through and process through my emotions. And, since I've put that in action, it's been very helpful, but there are still times where I feel like even when I tell somebody to just listen or that I just need somebody to listen, they're not actively listening to me. They say, oh yeah, of course I can listen. And then they go on their phone or then they start looking away from me and their eyes start to wander. And I can tell that they're not actively engaged with what I'm saying. And then I'm like, well, I might as well just be talking to the fucking wall because you're not listening. I told you I needed someone to listen to me. That means looking me in my eyes. That means nodding. That means processing what I'm saying, maybe even repeating it back to me. It's just like people don't care to give you their time and to listen. And I think that's a huge problem in empathizing with other people because you can never empathize and understand where someone's coming if you can't even listen to them. Next one is underestimating people's emotional distress. Unless you are directly feeling and experiencing someone else's pain, you will never have any idea of how bad it actually is. Mistaking the common "I'm fine" for physical stability or emotional stability. Nobody is ever actually fine. If they say, oh, I'm fine, when have you ever met somebody or talked to somebody when you ask them, hey, how's your day going? How are you? And they say, oh, I'm fine. When have they ever actually been okay? In my experience, never. Me personally, never. When I say I'm fine, I'm not fine, in fact. I am probably bouncing around the fucking walls of my enclosure in my brain, chasing my tail. Like, what are we talking about? What are we doing here? I just imagine, like, Oh my God, I saw a video of lemurs the other day, and I didn't realize how cute they were. But then I think of King Julian from, oh my God, Madagascar. Yeah, and I for some reason I know that my vocal stems sound a lot like the seals that are on TikTok, like the leopard seals that just like yell in like a really look it up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go on TikTok and look up just like seals and you'll see what I'm talking about. But there's one like where he's like rocking on his stomach and he's just like making these crazy noises and that's me. But anyways, in my brain, I feel like I imagine like my stimming or like my emotions as just like a lemur, like bouncing really fast, like back and forth, like chasing its tail because they have really long tails. So I feel like, anyways, that that was really important. That was not very important. I don't even know where I was going with that, but yeah. Emotional illiteracy. If you have difficulty identifying how you feel, other people's emotions will be even more fucking baffling. I often feel like, well, and this is kind of, it doesn't really make sense because I say I often feel, but I don't often feel. I have a very hard time understanding the emotions that I feel as I feel them. And I have an equally difficult time trying to understand my emotions beyond just anger, fear, anxiety, whatever. Like, I can know that if I'm shaking and I'm really anxious, yeah, I'm stressed. I should probably take a couple of deep breaths, but I'm not always able to identify the real source of that emotion in the moment. And I think that can make it really hard to empathize with people is just like, if I can't even understand how I feel, how am I supposed to be able to understand how someone else feels? When I feel angry, I want to get that anger out. I want to punch something. I want to listen to rage music. I want to scream. I want to break shit. I want to jump around. I want to be active. I want to work out. But how would I empathize with somebody who, when they're angry, they just go internal? They don't talk about it. They just sit there. They ruminate. They feel it and they don't act on it. I wouldn't know how to empathize with that. I don't do that. And I think that's where the disconnect is we don't understand or even try to understand our own emotions. And then when we do understand our own emotions, we don't try to understand how those emotions are portrayed differently in other people. The next one is the treatment of homeless/mentally unstable people. This one hurts. If you go out anywhere, and I lived in downtown Chicago for a while, and you see these a lot, but there's specifically designed park benches to make it impossible for those who are homeless to sleep on them. And there's purposely not a lot of like benches. There's not a lot of seating. Outdoor restaurants will typically have like their seating gated off so it can't be easily accessed. There's no public restrooms. There's no public anything really. And so a lot of homeless people, a lot of mentally unstable people, mentally ill people, they just kind of crowd into the subways because that's the only like free spot you can get into. But it's not even free. They typically hop the lines and then they get on the trains and they just keep riding the trains back and forth. And, then it starts to become their bathroom and their houses. And it's trying to prevent loitering, but it's just heartbreaking because they are victims of the same system that is now taking away their ability to just exist. Like, who do you think it is that made them homeless in the first place? I think in a lot of cases, yeah, it could be drug abuse. It could be alcohol abuse. It could be laziness. Who do you think created those systems in the first place? Who do you think created the substances that were easy to abuse? And then all of a sudden they're being punished for following the system. And then further punished by that same system for being homeless. Like, if as much time and money was spent on trying to fix homelessness instead of finding ways to prevent them from sleeping in a park bench, we'd probably have solved the problem by now. Because what do you mean? We're actively trying to come up with new ways to make sure that homeless people are not sleeping under bridges, but we can't figure out a way to make sure that there's no tent cities. It pisses me off. Another one is only going out of your way to help others when it benefits you. And my best example, and I don't watch any of his videos. I have never watched any of his videos, but Mr. Beast, I don't know what it is, but I don't get a very good vibe from that guy, because what do you mean he has a Mr. Beast games where people compete for large sums of money and then get kicked off? If you were truly trying to help people, you wouldn't put them through games. You would find the people who are most deserving and most grateful if you give them that money and help them financially instead of making them play for it. Like, I know sometimes it's an ego thing. People want to feel like they are deserving of a reward. They want to feel like they worked for it. Maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. Isn't there already a TV show where people play games for money, except they die and there's only one winner and they play for a bunch of rich pigs? Off topic, but I need to tell you guys about Aspire energy drinks. If you listen to any of my other episodes, you would know I'm not a huge fan of energy drinks. I've passed that phase of my life. My frontal lobe has developed beyond the crazy battery acid tasting energy drinks that I used to drink that made me super jittery. And with the amounts of sugar that they had, I was literally crashing after 20 minutes. But I've never had those problems with Aspire Energy. And that's because they have 0 calories, 0 sugar, and 0 additives, using natural green tea as the primary source of caffeine. And you get 80 milligrams of caffeine with one Aspire energy drink, which is equivalent to that of a standard coffee cup. And you get flavors like strawberry watermelon and raspberry acai. Not to mention, they have added vitamins, biotin, and ginger for full body support alongside the caffeine. Plus, it's carbonated, which in my opinion is the best thing you could possibly do to any drink. If you want to try this healthy energy drink for yourself, don't worry, because I've got you covered. Just head on over to aspiredrinks.com. That's ASPIRE drinks.com. Pick out your flavors and enter my code at checkout. I got you guys 20% off and free shipping in the United States when you use code SPACE11. SPACE11. And if just buying healthy energy drinks weren't enough, each time you use my code at checkout, I get a commission, which means that you are directly supporting this podcast and me, helping make these episodes a reality. So thank you. And back to the episode, which is getting a little long here. So basically, we lack empathy, especially right now, and especially in the United States, because a majority of us are under a large amount of stress, which causes us to burn out, and we feel threatened by pretty much everything in our daily lives. And a lot of what we do and use, our phones, our cars, our jobs, sometimes even our friends, our roommates, the people who are supposed to listen to us but aren't listening, the people who we interact with on a day-to-day basis, homeless people, everything somehow connects to our inability to empathize. And it triggers a self-protection response that deactivates our ability to empathize with one another. Yeah, that's a lot to take in. So now we do the thing in all my episodes that I do called giving it space. So if you've been here before, then you can go ahead and close your eyes and prepare for what comes next. If you haven't done this before, then I just want to say I am not a therapist. I am not a life coach. I'm not a psychologist. I am simply a flawed human being. I am always in the learning mode. I'm always in the change mode. So right now, I'm just going to give myself the space and the time to acknowledge the fact that maybe I lack some empathy. So if you want to join me, you can close your eyes. If you're not doing anything important like driving, or, you're not trying to be productive, take a deep breath in through your nose. And breathe out through your mouth, trying to exhale longer than you inhaled. And you can keep doing that as I talk. So as you start to get more comfortable, relaxing into wherever you're sitting, wherever you're standing, becoming less aware of your surroundings and more aware of my voice, I want you to just acknowledge that we are all human beings. We feel deeply, we love deeply, we are capable of connecting with each other on a wavelength that is so rare. And I think that in and of itself is what saves us, because it's easy to become one of those people who gets in the mindset of, I'm better off on my own. But we're not better off on our own. We are a community-based species. We thrive on each other's energy. And it's that energy that allows us to see each other and hear each other and empathize with each other. We are capable of empathy. We are capable of looking at somebody else regardless of who they are, regardless of their background, where they come from, regardless of their circumstances, and say, you are deserving of my time and attention just for being you. You are deserving of my empathy just because I am a human being and I want to connect with you and I want to see if I can make your life a little bit easier. By empathizing with other people, we are not harming ourselves in any way. We are not conditioning ourselves to believe that we're better than anyone, and we're not really changing all that much. We're not putting a damper on our own lives just to connect with somebody else. If you walk away from this episode believing that you are not capable of empathy, my friend, you would be so wrong. We are all 100% capable of empathy, unless you're a psychopath. I hope you're not a psychopath. The problem lies within the approach. Similar to my last episode, Observe, Don't Absorb, having empathy doesn't come at the expense of your own emotional security. If you can't produce a cognitive response, aka, I see how that would be hard, an emotional response, that's really sad, I'm so sorry that happened to you, or a compassionate response, do you need a place to stay? I have a spare room. The next best option is simply to actively listen, ask questions, and comfort rather than criticize. Don't try to take on other people's problems. It's okay to set boundaries and protect yourself. But maybe emotions are hard for you, like they are for me. Maybe labeling those emotions is even harder. Whatever's holding you back from expressing empathy, here are some ways that you can release that. Control your stress. Because stress suppresses empathy, the most effective way to preserve our capacity for empathy is to more effectively manage our stress. Deep breathing, meditation, good sleep, good nutrition, exercise, therapy, sometimes medication, those are all options worthy of exploring. Seek empathy. Receiving empathy from another person releases oxytocin, a stress-relieving hormone. This means that confiding in a friend under stressful circumstances rather than isolating will not only reduce stress, but also revive your emotional bandwidth for empathy. Avoid unsolicited problem solving. When a friend vents to you, more often than not, they're in search of that oxytocin release. This is why jumping into problem solving creates more problems. While well-meaning, it backfires. Problem solving in a situation where empathy is desired can be perceived as dismissive or judgmental, which inadvertently sends the message that this person needs to be fixed instead of this person needs to be heard. When a person approaches you to vent, first ask them if they want to be heard, hugged, or helped. You'll be surprised how many people picked heard or hugged and not helped. Most people, when they come to you, are not asking for answers, they're asking for an emotional connection. Which leads me to my next point, ask more questions. The path to empathy lies in asking enough questions until you get there. If you're puzzled by someone's perspective, approach the situation by asking questions, by trying to understand better, gathering all the information you can until the mystery of emotions is solved. Everything makes sense once you have the right information. That concludes our giving it space portion. So you can open your eyes. If you still want to take some deep breaths, fine by me. But I want you to remember that we are all human. We all have emotions. We all experience hard things. No one's problems are invalid. No one's perfect. Everyone, well, almost everyone, deserves compassion and understanding. We all experience stress and fear, and that automatically makes it harder to respond to others in a sincere and empathetic way. If we all tried to just step outside of ourselves for a moment, for a day or even a week, I think we would start to see a whole new world evolve around us. Thank you so much for listening. I'm really grateful that you're here. This is Give It Space, your virtual room to slow down, breathe, and just be for a moment. If you want to support this podcast and me, you can get updates and sneak peeks into upcoming episodes on Instagram, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel for full videos and bonus content at Give It Space Pod. I'm always happy to hear your feedback or thoughts, or if you just want to talk to me, or if you just want somebody to listen to you, you can DM me on Instagram or shoot me an email at giveitspacepod@gmail.com. I'm your host, Vin, and I will see you next time. 3 different types of empathy. Shut up. Sorry. Shut up, Mom. Okay, anyways. um Wait, hang on. Where am I? Yeah. Wait. Huh? Huh. It's like, oh crap, what's the word? Fuck. Sorry. I don't want to get into specific systematic. Huh? Acknowledging privilege can feel like a Sorry. I don't know why the corners of my mouth are so like. Ugh. Empathy. I want to pull up that TikTok video of the seal that I was talking about. Let me find it. That is my stomach. Did you hear that? Please tell me you heard that. That was my stomach. Oh, fun fact. I can make my stomach grumble. I can make my. What am I trying to say? I can make my stomach make noises on command. TikTok seal stimming. I spelled it wrong. I also spelled TikTok like tick tick. I'm so out of it right now. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? Okay, wait. Unmute. I don't know why they're so funny. Hang on, I'm gonna find a real one. I'm almost crying right now. No, don't make me log in. Stop! I just want to look at the videos. Brother. Idiot.
I got pregnant at 14, 16, and 19, which means I have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and I'm pregnant.
I'm finding it. I'm finding the empathy. I gotta go now. This is literally an hour. Okay, bye-bye.